Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With episode 751 of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and it is Thursday, so you know exactly what that means. We will be breaking down everything that happened over the last week across NXT and AEW. We will be tackling all of that in a moment. Off the top, as we get into the show, I just wanted to kind of express some gratitude, both from myself and on behalf of Vintage Chris Vanini, who of course is not usually on the Thursday shows. Just all the outpouring of affection and congratulations that you guys sent us for episode 750. We also got a lot of responses on Vintage's John Cena raps, so we will save those comments and we'll air them on Tuesday's show. Just wanted to say it meant a lot to have so many of you reach out, express pride, memories, praise yourself to a degree for being with us for the duration of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Just wanted to say once again that we really appreciate all of that, and we hope that it translates into two of the things that we ask you for here on Getting Over. The first, obviously, being remembering on a week-by-week, show-by-show basis.
It's all about Defy.
So really, you can show that appreciation by heading over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leaving a 5-star rating, and on Apple, taking a little extra time, leaving a 5-star written review, because if you do, we will read it live right here on the show. And we'll talk about the other way that you can send us some thanks a little bit later in the program. You know, I don't want to waste too much time off the top of today's show. Fact of the matter is the US Open is ongoing right now, and it's a huge event in my work life. So I just am trying to fit this in on a normal Thursday. So we're going to talk all things NXT and AEW. NXT was a 2-hour show on Tuesday night. AEW ran for 4 consecutive hours, plus another overrun. Tony, what are you doing to me, dude?
Are you fucking kidding me?
It is, 4 hours is one thing. 4 hours and 6 minutes, it's kind of another, if we're being completely honest. But we're going to cover both of those. Did not get a chance to watch WWE Evolve. We'll kind of group that together with a couple of those episodes in a future edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. We don't really cover that, so just kind of throwing them all together and giving you some quick notes is the way to go. Of course, they did name those 2 champions, and we discussed that on the last episode. We will, though, before all of this starts, take a second look at WWE and AAA Worlds Collide, just going over some brief additional notes from that show. It'll take 2 seconds, and then we'll get into everything else. I'll also remind you to subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast for full-length audio episodes, also full-length video interviews that we are taping in 2025, and clips from old interviews. You can get all of that on YouTube at Getting Overcast. And please follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. You can send in questions and comments for the show. We will do our best to read them on the air, as we did Tuesday in episode 750, which was also the second look at WWE Money in the Bank. And we covered some major topics, including John Cena and CM Punk happening not in Chicago, not in another major United States city, but at Blood Money in the Sand in Saudi Arabia, and Gunther dethroning Jey Uso as the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship. All of that from Tuesday's episode. Make sure you listen to it if you have not already. I'll also remind you there are timestamps in the episode description, so you can jump around if you desire on this show. As always, I hope you listen to the entire deal. Now, quickly before we get into the NXT of it all, a second look at WWA and AAA Worlds Collide. Just, again, a couple really fast notes here. The AAA Mega Championship, Hijo del Vikingo against Chad Gable. I said 4.75 stars A+. Stand by it. It was truly incredible. Match of the weekend by a mile. I truly hope eyes were opened by Gable here. He could legitimately main event a WWE main roster PLE if booked the right way. I'm not saying he could main event a SummerSlam like a Kurt Angle or something like that, but one of those B-level shows in a championship match, he absolutely could. These guys put on a show. Gable proved everything that we've ever said about him and others have said about him. And Vikingo obviously is the mega champion, deservingly so. He's the best wrestler in that entire company right now. But surprisingly, not the biggest star to come out of the weekend, because that somehow was Mr. Iguana and La Yesca And so we'll move over to that. Dragon Lee, Cruz del Toro, Lince Dorado against Octagon, Aerostar, and Mr. Iguana. The AAA wrestlers, of course, luchadors, I should say, won that match. On rewatch, I actually upgraded this to 3.75 stars B+. It was extremely entertaining with just the right amount of comedy for a match like this. The perfect show opener, the right side won, and it was really smart for Octagon to actually get the fall, given he received the Intercontinental title match against Dominic Mysterio at Money in the Bank itself. Still ridiculous. That match only went 5 minutes on Saturday, but again, it seemed kind of just thrown in there. NXT North American Championship, Ethan Page successfully defending over Javon Evans, Laredo Kid, and Rey Fenix, 4.25 stars and an A. This really was awesome. Probably the third best match of the weekend. And the other two matches, I have no additional notes, no additional changes. So just wanted to go ahead and wrap that up for you. So that's the WWE AAA Worlds Collide second look. That allows me to briefly remind you that here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast,
I happen to love the number 5.
And I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Over head. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. We published a big one on Monday. We have another substantial one coming on Friday with some real interesting information about how negotiations work with WWE superstars, AEW signing talent. What happened with R-Truth? How close was he to actually not coming back to WWE? Some of that and more, all on buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. But even if we gave you nothing extra, the hope would be that you sign up there and you just financially support the continuation of this podcast. It's a free show. It's an ad-free show. We've been doing it for 5 years and 3 months. So with that said, let's move into a full breakdown of NXT. And there is a lot to talk about, as there usually is on NXT. The championship was on the line. Oba Femi defending against Jasper Troy in the main event. In the cold open for the show, Troy attacked Femi in the parking lot, hitting an almighty spinebuster into a car windshield that left the champion injured. I mean, if Femi isn't safe in the parking lot, nobody ever is going to be. Troy later said he knew what he was doing because there was no way Femi would cower out of defending the title. Facts. It's pretty smart. Jasper completely dominated at the bell, driving Femi twice into a top ram side corner of the ring, with the middle turnbuckle completely dislodging from the ring post. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, real shit is happening right now.
Oh, we got two big meaty men bumping me tonight.
It got reattached during the commercial break. Oba finally found a second wind, hitting some big tosses, suplexes, and a spinebuster. Jasper came back with a choke slam. They traded counters until Femi caught Troy for his toss slam, only to get grabbed running back for the black hole slam with a late cover. No one really sold that this was Troy's finisher, and that was a huge mistake by commentary, and also kind of by Troy, not capitalizing on hitting the move, trying to get the cover in the moment. Femi got knees up to stop a Vader bomb, clotheslined both of them over the top rope outside. He chucked Troy into a barricade, which exploded. Not one panel, like 3 or 4 different panels. Oba then caught Jasper running with fall from grace for a completely botched fall. The referee pulled his arm up despite Troy not kicking out. Whether he forgot or was unable to do it, either way, that should have ended the match. So Femi just hit it a second time, got the 1-2-3, retained the title. This was a hell of a debut for the neophyte, but a huge screw up in the end by him and the referee. There were multiple stretches where you could observe his inexperience. He's just not nearly as smooth as his veterans, but he also flashed plenty of long-term potential going toe-to-toe with a dominant champion in Femi. It's matches like this, when you remember, NXT is still developmental. This type of stuff is going to happen on the CW. You're not going to get perfect matches every show, every week. But still, this far exceeded any expectations I had coming in. And when you have two guys like this,
big meaty man slapping meat. That's what I want.
That may not even really do it justice.
Where else can you see two beef planets like this colliding?
Beef planets. I like that.
That's kind of what it was. Two beef planets colliding. The question now is, what the hell do you do with Troy? Because he came seconds away from beating the top guy on the entire brand. That's always the difficulty when you debut someone that strong. It's going to be curious to see how Shawn Michaels books Jasper going forward. It was a B match, but five full slabs of beef.
There's a lot of beef out here.
North American Championship was on the line. Ethan Page defending against Sean Legacy, who finally got his title match. Page had a nice single knee draping codebreaker through the ropes. Legacy came back with a flip over inverted Michinoku driver. Page dropped him with a backbreaker over the top rope. Legacy avoided Ego's edge ringside, running the champion into the post. He had a huge tope con hero, but Page avoided a 450, hit twisted grin, got the win. Ricky Saints attacked immediately after the bell, chasing Ethan backstage. And it was really kind of tough to ask for more from this match. I'm glad Page went over clean. He's the veteran. Legacy's a neophyte. Neither needed an excuse in the finish. Just another situation where Legacy proved he's far beyond Evolve already. He should firmly be on NXT. The crowd was awesome for this match. Perfect show opener. 3.75 stars B+. Ava later berated Saints for attacking Page, given her prior declaration, pointing out he's still bruised and bandaged all around his neck, not medically clear to compete or even speak. Saints ultimately decided to go home, and I thought it was pretty interesting that this is being lengthened to such a degree. I would presume it's getting run back at Great American Bash in July, but the outcome of that, you would think, would be Saints winning the title back. And if they do that, then he's not getting called up anytime soon. So I'm just not exactly sure what they're doing with Ricky right now. It's possible he loses again and just gets written off, and maybe that's what happens. JC Jane backstage was angry at Ava for not previously informing her that Mariah May was signed. She threw shade at Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix, who were right behind her, when Lainey Reed came in and smacked JC across the face, trying to run her own play. Jane didn't take the bait, so Reed just smacked her again, and Ava immediately agreed to a match like the pushover she is always going to be. Lainey got a promo package calling herself the Southern Sensation. She's apparently a rodeo and track champion from Jacksonville State. Promo was solid, but this was still out of nowhere, especially for a title match. I would be remiss if I didn't say that Fallon, by the way, is out there looking like a damn model week after week. She straight nailed her look down and has got it going on in every possible way. I've never seen someone in NXT scream main roster star and still be in NXT for as long as she has been. I don't understand what they are doing with her. So the women's championship, Jane against Reed. JC got most of the offense. Lainey completely botched a blockbuster, but went on a run anyway with a twisting neck breaker, a great knee to the chest, which was her best move since it got caught way snug. I bet Jane has a bruise from that even today. Henley distracted as Reed was leaping on the ropes, so JC hung her up in the ropes and hit rolling encore, which Lainey really did not take well, to retain the title. Decent effort overall from the youngster. She really did not appear ready for prime time at all. I didn't love this being a title match, especially since it soon became clear that Jane is not about to go on a string of defenses. It's pretty obvious that she's going to be dropping the title sooner than later. And this was clearly the case because Ava appeared in the crow's nest after the match, announcing there will be a mini tournament to determine a number one contender that will face Jane for the title at WWE Evolution. 4 singles matches, each earning a spot in a 4-way that will crown that number one contender. Now, given this is Evolution, I'm actually shocked that it's not going to be a 4-way or a 5-way match to showcase as much NXT talent as possible. It's extremely odd that this is the event where they decide to go one-on-one for the title. Now, maybe they're doing it because they're going to put someone over like a Jordan Grace or a Mariah May and they want it to be squeaky clean. Understood. But it'll be interesting to see who winds up getting that number one contendership. The matches as of right now don't include Mariah May. It's going to be Lash Legend against Kalani Jordan, Zarya against Izzy Dame, Thea Hale against Jada Parker, and Lola Vice against Jordan Grace. I presume the winners are going to be Legend, Zarya, Parker, and Grace. And by the way, if that does happen,
4 big men slapping meat equals excitement.
There'd be a lot of beef flying in that ring.
Reinforce the ring post. The beef's going to be flying tonight, gentlemen.
But of course, after all those names I just uttered for you, who is the one missing in action? Tatum Paxley. Not even an opportunity to work as part of this tournament. I simply do not understand this. We say it week after week. Others say the same. We are not alone out here. How does she keep getting overlooked? Someone make it make sense because it simply does not.
0.0.
I also wanted to take a second and address Jordan's positioning in NXT right now, because they have managed to make her feel like just another woman on the brand, despite the fact that she came in as one of 3 massive free agent signings. I'm not sure she's just going to be able to rely on her physical dominance as the lone thing to get her over in WWE. Chyna, Beth Phoenix, Jade Cargill, they all have something extra, be it a gimmick, a look, whatever. WWE has seemingly taken away Juggernaut from Grace, I presume due to trademark issues. But they haven't replaced it with anything. If I'm NXT, I have Jordan completely lean into her personality. She is legitimately fun and funny online. I want that on my TV. Let her shit talk and troll people and then beat the crap out of them anyway. She needs something because right now she doesn't have anything. And because of that, it's been really difficult for the fans to actually buy into what she is because all we see is, oh, she's really strong. She has to have more than that in WWE. Now, Mariah received a well-produced introductory package that played off themes of the 60s, Bewitched, probably a dated reference for many of you. Go look it up on YouTube. And Sabrina Carpenter, far more contemporary. She got out of a bathtub while the narrator called her internationally adored because she makes people scream. She's beauty and grace who will punch you in the face. The reason the spotlight exists and the girl that you've been waiting to see. They delayed this name until the final second, with Mariah now being called Blake Monroe. It was okay as a quick vignette, left a little bit to be desired. The name is perfectly fine. It's clearly a Marilyn Monroe reference, especially with the surname, which obviously fits her look and the glamour gimmick. I'd probably have just gone Mariah Monroe, keep the MM initials, the alliteration. It rolls off the tongue better as well. Plus, it's actually a connection to her real person. It was right there. Blake Monroe, she sounds like a homewrecker from a 90s TV drama like 90210 or Melrose Place or something like that. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with the name. There's an absurd conversation around every single NXT name change. It's automatically terrible. How could they change the name? This is exhausting. Some of them are indeed bad. Others are just different, and they take a little getting used to. It was later announced that she's going to sign her contract next week. And the way that popped up was a graphic with some like sparkling noise during another match. I thought it looked really cool. We got a handful of messages on Blue Sky suggesting that this was a ripoff of the Toni Storm gimmick. And those comments were mind-boggling. How is this anything like that? Because it has vibes of being from the past. The 60s is not the golden age of Hollywood in the 20s and 30s. It is not similar in any way, nor was she playing a character from the past. It was just the aesthetic of the video package. Again, it had a lot of Sabrina Carpenter vibes as well. And those graphics were clearly Bewitched inspired, especially with the Twinkle sound drop. So it's nothing like Toni Storm. The only real criticism of this segment is the themes were a little bit too mixed. I couldn't really decide what it wanted to be, and I don't think those who created it could decide what they wanted it to be either. But it certainly is not drawing inspiration in any way from the 20s and 30s and the silent black and white era of film. And why would it? Why would Mariah come into WWE and say, let me do the Toni Storm gimmick? It's nothing like that. So I don't even know what people are talking about these days. The tribalism is ridiculous. Izzy Dame explained to the rest of the calling that Brooks Jensen was never committed to them. He dressed different, didn't buy into the family concept, and took the fall at Battleground. He was the weak link. Sean Spears praised her for eliminating him, and they all agreed that they are more focused on their goals than ever before. Then we had Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura against the calling that was a scheduled match. It felt completely rushed. Inamura absolutely destroyed Spears ringside, only for Nico Vance, of all people, to grab Briggs off the top rope for a cliffhanger slam and the win. This was the down point of the entire episode of NXT in that none of it felt important. At least it wasn't presented that way given the limited time. I appreciated the further detail on last week's excommunication on Jensen. It now seems like he wasn't released, but maybe he's flipping back with Briggs or something. It's really tough to say. But putting Izzy as the centerpiece of this cult, it is absolutely the right decision. She's been the most interesting part of it by far. So Briggs later ranted to Inamura about their loss backstage when First Class, AJ Francis, and Casey Navarro from TNA, they barged in talking shit about winning the NXT tag team titles. Elijah strummed his way into the picture. and led them scurrying to Trick Williams. Later on, Trick, he was crowing about a successful title defense over Elijah on a TNA show. Didn't even know that happened. He also ran down Mike Santana, saying he lied to his daughter because he didn't actually win the title. Then he basically created a 6-man match with all of those dudes involved next week. Third show in a row where Trick cut one of the best promos of his career. He's completely feeling himself. He's totally on point as a character. It's actually impressive how much this gimmick has accomplished in making him feel like a more complete performer. But I do have one note for him. Let's talk about it should only be said at the start of a promo, not at the end, or maybe in the middle, but not at the end. Trick, let's just be a little bit more judicious with that and not spam it as a catchphrase like Tiffy time or something. You got to rein it in, big man. Also, let's hope he never gets into a promo battle with Cody Rhodes. What do you want to talk about? Let's talk about it. Yeah, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about it. That shit could go on for an hour. So let's figure out when to properly use let's talk about it, and then get some other lines in there as well, Trick. Zaruka was playing a friendship game on social media when Lash Legend started talking shit to Ren Sinclair before getting into it with Carmen Petrovic and Kalani Jordan as well. Ren stood up for herself, and that led to Legend against Sinclair with Jordan on commentary. Lash won with a swinging slam around her back that she kind of botched. These two did not work particularly well together. Perhaps Legend has not improved as much as I thought. I'm glad Ren got a singles opportunity here, but she was just fodder for a more prominent woman. She needs her own legitimate opportunities, just like Tatum, and fast. Still a step in the right direction, getting her on screen, wrestling a match involved in a storyline. Sinclair brought NQCC together backstage. Charlie Dempsey offered a handshake to wish Miles Bourne good luck. He thanked Dempsey for making him the man that he has now become. Javon Evans then came in real hype, getting in their business, really for no reason. As Tavian Heights told Dempsey he wanted to get his own shot, Dempsey tried to ignore it. He ultimately left. Sinclair was trying to play peacemaker. Not quite sure why they're splitting NQCC like this, but I'm going to hold off further criticism until it actually plays out. Tony D'Angelo came across Luca Crucifino, hanging up a call saying he was ready to take care of business. Crucifino again promised he had D'Angelo's back, and he said he would prove it in their match against High Rise. Luca was distracted, arguing with Wesley ringside. That was when Tony tried to tag out early, so he got pissed and thought he did it on purpose. Crucifino then delivered. He took a hip toss out of the ring as like a tope. Then he much later hit a running, spinning code breaker that was actually really cool. D'Angelo wrecked shop as Stax ran down with a crowbar. Tony thwarted him with ease. Luca picked up the weapon. Tony noticed that. He immediately assumed he was starting on him. High Rise hit him with the finisher and got the win. This was really formulaic in terms of the Stax running, but the match was better than expected. This does seem to be going the traditional route of Crucifino actually being on D'Angelo's side, only to wind up turning because Tony refuses to believe him. I'd be shocked if that's not what happens, but we will see. And we also haven't seen Adriana Rizzo yet, so maybe she will factor into it. Chase U backstage admitted to Andre Chase they made a mistake challenging Dark State. He insisted the only way they can work together is to do it his way and follow his rules. The guys agreed to be all in, so Chase decided to put the university back in session. This has been drip, drip, drip for months now, and that's fine in theory, but it's time to move forward. Shit or get off the pot. Make this something we actually care about weekly on TV, or just get rid of Chase U and have Andre Chase do something else. Because at this point, it's a pale facsimile to the original version. Also, I will note Mr. Iguana, Iho, Dale, Dr. Wagner Jr., Psycho Clown, and I believe Octagon Jr. They were all in attendance during NXT. They did a fun social media video with Shawn Michaels, and HBK also did a fun social media video with a lot of the women in NXT. It was one of those deals, I've seen it on TikTok recently, where like the teacher or the boss sits in a chair and he's supposed to understand the voices of the people behind them, who they are, because he knows them so well. And he did pretty well. But like Grandpa HBK doing TikTok videos in 2025, it is quite a scene going on right now in NXT. So that wraps up the week. Really solid show once again. It actually was the highest rated edition of NXT since March 25th. Now, that's probably because there was no more, NBA Finals competition. At least there wasn't this individual week. It was also a really quality show coming out of a couple high quality shows as well. So it seems NXT is picking up some momentum. Will it get back to that 800,000 range? I don't know, but being in the sevens regularly with a demo close to 0.2, it's really solid. And it's way beyond what the CW expected when they signed this product, which is, again, I've been saying it for the entirety of the deal. WWE took way, way too little money for NXT. They could have gotten a lot more, especially with the way the product is coming across right now. So that takes us off of NXT, allows us to move into AEW. And it was another 4-hour Wednesday because there's another game, I presume an NHL Finals game scheduled for Saturday when Collision would normally air. So this was the second week in a row they're doing that, and it's the second week in a row. I beg AEW to never do this again. It's exhausting. The 2 hours of Dynamite are usually strong, just like they were last week. They were this week as well. And then like Collision starts, and it's just a completely different show, and you wonder why you're still watching. And that's just facts. It's what happened. I will also note the sound on this broadcast was terrible. The commentary sounded fine, but the entire open of the show sounded like it was in a tin can. You could hear small 5-person groups of fans chanting loudly, which was not representative of the entire arena. It was a pain in the ass to listen to. The visuals were fine, but the audio was just straight up trash. In terms of match relevancy, 6 of 9 this week were completely relevant in storyline. Either in some way they were previewed or built, the week prior or multiple weeks prior, or they had something to do with an ongoing storyline. The others simply did not. I'm probably being generous with a couple of those because they were extremely thin. But, 9 matches, they usually do like 13, 14 in a week. So it just kind of showed they have really gone storyline heavy with these 4-hour blocks of AEW, and for the better, because if you're trying to utilize 4 hours of TV time, you gotta tell stories. And I think it's actually for the better when it comes to the build for All In. So that was a positive coming out of the last 2 weeks of this show. Let's go ahead and break down everything that happened across the 4 hours. We had Will Ospreay against Swerve Strickland. Holy shit chance at the bell, but it was tough to tell if it was a small group of the arena or the whole arena, again, because of the audio issues. Ospreay somehow got a heavy bloody nose literal seconds into the match. I'm running to the bathroom, stuffing tissues up my nose. I am not seeing a bloody nose and then immediately doing a standing sky twister like he did afterward. It was so sick. Like just thinking like I would never do that, but he just doesn't care and does that. I love seeing something like that. The whole start of this match was like an aura off, which was kind of annoying. Ospreay dominated the offense early, did a handspring tope. Swerve came back, countering Ozcutter with a neck breaker, hitting a draping neck breaker onto the floor as well. Swerve avoided Stormbreaker, only for Ospreay to hit Stundog Millionaire, Poison Rana, Spanish Fly, Ozcutter inside, and a hidden blade outside through the ropes, Suicida style. It was a great camera angle on that one. Swerve dodged another blade attempt in the ring. Ospreay went shoulder first into the middle turnbuckle, selling that. Swerve avoided Styles' clash with Hangman's Deadeye for a 2.9. Ospreay ducked Swerve stomp like everyone really should and hit Hidden Blade for an arm lift false finish. Swerve came back with House Call and Swerve stomp for another false finish. So he snapped Ospreay's arm, but Will came up and countered House Call with Ozcutter, hitting Stormbreaker for another false finish. That probably should have just ended the match. Ospreay teased Tiger Driver. Swerve countered it into a Vertebreaker. Then he hit a House Call, but Ospreay kind of rolled onto the apron when he took that. Commentary kept counting down the time. They kept noting that there was 2 minutes left, then 1 minute left, 30 seconds, but no announcement was made in the arena. And Swerve just took forever getting to the top rope. He tried to do a Swerve stomp. The time ran out. They rang the bell, and that was it. So what does Swerve do? He grabs the mic, and you guessed it, he said this match should continue. Why? Because AEW, it's where the best wrestle.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Instead, Death Riders came out to completely distract. Young Bucks attacked Swerve from behind, hitting EVP trigger and double handcuffing him to the ropes for a super kick party. They put on Swerve's new Reebok shoes with spike bottoms, only for Ospreay to jump in the ring and take the bullet for him. A double super kick with the spikes to the head. Despite still having the shoes on, they decided, no, we're good. We're not going to take out Swerve as we originally planned. It's like shooting one dude in a movie and leaving the other alive so that way he can come and get revenge on you. Fans booed the ring bell for the draw and the Riders coming out. These were anger boos, not heel boos. They gave the Bucks heel heat, though, for their large post-match attack. They had every right, the fans, to be displeased. It was a super cheap cop-out to 50-50 book this match with a draw, especially given AEW did not even announce a 2-minute warning to the crowd, so that way the wrestlers could go balls to the wall, at least trying to earn a fall. They're so inconsistent with doing that for the live audience, despite booking probably 4-5 draws per year. The wrestling was obviously outstanding. It was probably going to get a really high grade from yours truly. But for a draw that finished without even a climax being built up to a countdown, I can't go higher than 4.25 stars A. The whole catchphrase bullshit, that was just a cherry on top of the shit Sunday when it came to the finish of it. I do like the idea of trying to get heat on the writers for not allowing sudden death to transpire. That was pretty cool. And it's obvious now, blatantly obvious, that we're going to be getting Young Bucks against Swerve and Ospreay at All In, to which I say, who cares? Like, is it going to be a great match? Yes, because all 4 of those guys can wrestle, and Swerve and Ospreay teaming is going to be super cool. But is that an actual tag team match you want on that show? Like, do you really want to see those 4 wrestle? Like, in storyline, do you care about that match? Maybe some of you do, and I'm just wrong. And if so, that's fine. I also, as you all know, longtime listeners at least, I don't particularly love the Young Bucks. I respect their ability, but I don't care about their matches. I don't really want to see them wrestle. So maybe this is more of a Silver King thing. But for talents, the level of Ospreay and Swerve, and I know both of them are going to factor into the main event with Hangman and Jon Moxley. I get it. But for talents like them, I'd like to see them in a more prominent match than fighting the Young Bucks in a non-title showdown for revenge over the way they've attacked them recently. You know, it's very thin. Christopher Daniels gave Hangman Page a talking to backstage at the open of the show, suggesting he repair some relationships. Mox was hiding in plain sight with Death Riders following Page as he walked by. Later on Dynamite, Page came out to make a speech. He was immediately attacked by the Riders, hogtied with duct tape over his mouth. Mox said it was for his own good, so he would actually listen to him. He told Hangman that he had 4 weeks to become the man he's supposed to be and figure out how to beat him. Page lunged forward for a headbutt, so Claudio Castagnoli wrapped a chair around his neck, but Mox prevented him from doing a stomp. I guess he doesn't want to hurt him in that manner. He still wants him to fight. The Ops finally saved. What they were doing for the 10 minutes prior, I have no idea, but I was going to criticize the fact that no one else had his back, so at least they had his back. Hangman finally got the duct tape off. He screamed he would take the title and find one of them to take their head before the night is over. Extremely repetitive from both a few weeks ago and from the Adam Copeland feud. Just didn't really do anything for me either way. I'm not trying to be short on this, but I'm not really sure what else there is to say because over the remainder of the show, Hangman didn't take any of their heads. So he didn't pay it off. 2 hours later, the Bucks confronted Hangman, who was angry that they took out Ospreay. They pointed out they were clearly aiming for Swerve, saying they were still trying to clear the path for him so he could stick the landing and bring the AEW title back to the Elite. Speaking of the Elite, where is Jack Perry? As they were saying this, Prince Nana stuck his head out of a door, observing the conversation. Hangman ranted that he never asked or wanted them to do any of this. Page demanded they stay out of his business, Ospreay's business, and even Swerve's business, threatening to trap them in a house and burn it down if they did not. Nana poked his head out at the end as well, and then we saw Swerve come in saying he heard every word they said. So that's the start of Swerve being willing to get Hangman's back at All In a month from now. This was extremely well done, easily the best storytelling segment on the entire show. Hangman, Swerve, and even the Bucks did well, the latter of which is shocking to yours truly. Don Callis interrupted a Kazuchika Okada backstage interview, suggesting Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita had a better 6 months than Okada, so he shouldn't be in the match with Kenny Omega. One of them should be. The guys tried to intimidate him, but he called Callis a bitch because, of course, he did. Excalibur then spoke at like 10 words per minute, maybe stretching for time or something, while introducing the highly promoted video package for Okada and Omega. To be fair, it was a damn strong package from the standpoint of it really taught unfamiliar viewers the history of the rivalry in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Mini recaps of each match, including the finishes, certainly more of a storytelling effort than a hype video, but there's plenty of time for that, given the show is still a month away. Also, really smart way to fill time on a 4-hour show. So the contract signing for this match came afterward. Both the international and continental titles were on the table, but a third was there between them underneath the sheet. When that was pulled off, we saw for the first time the AEW Unified Championship. The belt was enormous, kind of eye-catching, but frankly, it looked like an oversized version of the original AEW Women's Championship that was criticized for being too puny. Now, don't get me wrong, it was much nicer than that because it was bigger, more ornate, there were more details and more gold, but it was extremely similar looking at first glance. And based on both the visual and the name, it sure seems like AEW is trying to take two mid-card titles and combine them into like a main event title. And that's obviously the wrong decision if it is indeed the goal. It would also mean the start of a fresh lineage, which would be unfortunate because quality work had been done with the International Championship, namely by Orange Cassidy. So that basically would just get erased. The move was simply to merge the Continental into the International, such as how the European Championship was merged into the Intercontinental title in WWE. Then you do the Continental Crown each year. The winner gets a crown or some other type of award for winning the tournament, and they get a title opportunity for the International Championship. It's such an easy and obvious move. I'm just surprised they aren't doing it that way. And then the name, Unified Championship, that is just not great. Not worthy of ranting over or anything, but pretty crappy nonetheless. Global might have worked, but international title, that was the move. It just feels like this is a title that's going to get changed sooner than later. If they wanted the unified moniker, call it the Unified International Championship until the winner of this match, whether it's Okada or Omega, ultimately drops the title, and then it reverts back to international. Okay, enough title talk. I digress. Omega said that they would be fighting for one final time. Whether that's true or not, we'll see. It was not mentioned previously. Callis came out afterward and again protested, saying it should be Fletcher or Takeshita in the match. Omega ranted at him, saying he knows all his tricks and wouldn't let him interfere. But Okada attacked him from behind, aligning with Callis and using a police baton on his midsection. Fans chanted, "You sold out." Proper usage of that chant for once. Omega sold his stomach, even though for the 100th time, you cannot re-aggravate diverticulitis physically. And the surgery would have been so long healed that if he was cleared to compete, he would not be that sensitive. It was oversold to the point that Omega got boarded. So Okada hit him with an elbow drop to the gut. Then as Omega got stretchered, Okada dropped another elbow on him, leading to Omega immediately spitting up a mass of blood, clearly from a couple capsules in his mouth. I love Omega. I love Okada. I'm looking forward to this match more than anything else at All In, maybe more than anything in professional wrestling this summer. I disliked large parts of this segment, primarily the involvement of Callis. Why is it that Omega cannot have a major feud without Callis involved? And why does Okada need to be shackled to someone when he could just be a piece of shit on his own? It would have been far more effective if Okada just destroyed Omega by himself, given the entirety of their feud has been a heated one-on-one rivalry. Yes, I know Okada had Gato in his corner back in New Japan. That was as a babyface, and he didn't take the pops or heat away from him. Callis was on commentary for all their matches in New Japan. I get that as well, but he is not needed here, and you certainly did not need a reason to get him on commentary for this match. You could have just done it. The lacking logic with Omega's midsection and the cartoonish, exaggerated blood capsule to end it. Maybe this is a me issue. I cannot see how others can completely suspend their disbelief to that ridiculous of a degree. I could see allowing yourself to believe, okay, it's an active injury. It can be made worse, despite that not actually being the case. But for blood to pour out of him like a geyser on impact, if that actually happened to someone, no way they would be cleared to wrestle in 4 weeks. The Callis of it all was a far bigger issue. Hopefully Omega just defenestrates him at some point before the match and he doesn't get involved. But I cannot think of a single person who honestly wants Callis involved in Omega Okada, a feud that needs no one else adjacent to it, a feud that we've been waiting to see rekindled for 7 years just with those two guys. Hurt Syndicate beat up Commander backstage, stole his mask, which seemed to be an injury write-off. He was replaced by Mascara Dorada in their scheduled 6-man. Mystico then dominated Jobber of the Month Blake Christian in a nothing match before Syndicate confronted him. MJF cut a nationalistic promo with streamers and his flag dropping as per usual. Mystico spoke in Spanish, saying something about his mother, so MJF called him Sloppy Sin Cara, going to his bag of easy, cheap, and boring WWE references, which basically told you how crappy this segment was unfolding. Syndicate attacked, with MJF threatening to pull off the mask until the face side entered and botched the timing of some pendulum topes for their random-ass scheduled match. What an absolute mess this was. The worst Syndicate segment in months. So we had Jet Speed and Dorada against Syndicate. MJF wore a worse version of MVP's old gear. He did ballin' later in the match. Bobby Lashley hit a Dominator, an Almighty Spinebuster, and later a Spear. No covers. He and Shelton Benjamin both botched bumps. Dorada did a sick shooting star press off the middle rope outside. MVP then drilled Speedball Mike Bailey in the back with a cane before MJF won the match with a hammerlock DDT. The Hurt Syndicate, a dominant group, beats the shit out of people. They're cheating to win matches. First with MJF, and now with MVP. And it's like, you need that to beat Kevin Knight or Mascara Dorada. You can't just pin one of those and dominate them. So then the faces got crushed in the post-match attack. MJF removed Dorada's mask. So Mystico came back, tapped him out with an armbar before running away. This just did not work for me at all. Excruciatingly poor from start to finish, which is really rare for these guys. I just wanted this to end the entire time. There was an America-based video package ready for MJF about 90 minutes later, despite his announcement coming on the same show. I also kind of want to say, it feels kind of, cheap for MJF to, I'm just back in Mexico, so I'm going to get into the whole nationalism thing again and America versus Mexico. My country's great. Yours sucks. It's 2025. He is way better than that. You look over at WWE, and trust me, I am not saying that they are the paragon of taste, okay, or anything like that. But the El Grande Americano gimmick, and then separately the Chad Gable, challenge of Vikingo. With Gable and Vikingo, it was, I went to Mexico to learn your trade. I'm now better than all your luchadors. I don't like luchadors or lucha libre. I'm going to prove that. It wasn't I hate Mexico. It wasn't that America is better. And this is a guy leading a faction called American Made. And they're not kind of sinking to those depths, right? Even El Grande Americano, he's a legendary luchador who's come over to WWE. He's not denigrating Mexico. Maybe he's going after a lot of the luchadors from Mexico, but he's not saying anything about the country. So it just felt really cheap from Max here because we know he is so much better than this. And it's also repetitive. They did it once. It kind of sucked when they did it the first time, but okay, with Will Ospreay and the title. He went to Mexico first with the American Championship. Then he defended it against Will Ospreay and so on. Like, that already happened. Why are you just bringing that back a year later? Because you're going to Arena Mexico? You can't just come up with another way to do this? I don't know. I just didn't really like it. And that's on top of the segment itself being poor and a lot of botches in the match. Just wasn't smooth. It was probably the weakest part of this 4-hour show, given the level to which it could have succeeded. The greatest differential between expectation and reality. Toni Storm fought Julia Hart in a non-title match, not an eliminator match. Just a non-title match. I don't know how they decide those. Mercedes Moné again ate ringside, this time at what looked like a merchandise table. Julia looked totally different, wearing neon green for some reason. Sky Blue got ejected from ringside. Storm was attacked before the bell. We barely even got to see this match due to commercials. Toni won with an inside cradle after Julia missed a high-risk move. Moné stood over Storm after the bell before smelling her hair, whispering in her ear, and then beating her down. Mina Shirakawa made the save, pushed Toni's head into her breast. So Mercedes attacked her too. Then she lifted the title, shoved Storm's face in it so she can kiss it goodbye. This was kind of shit, and it's ridiculous how they regularly relegate the top women's feud to Collision, whether it's on Saturday or Super Late Wednesday on a 4-hour show. None of this connected for me. Julia's look, Storm needing an inside cradle to win a short non-title, non-eliminator match. Mercedes' attacks were fine. I liked the mind games she played, but Toni looked like an idiot having just won a 7-minute match, acting as if she had gone through a 30-minute war with Mariah May or something like that. It just didn't fit together. Later backstage, the CMLL Women's Champion accepted a challenge Mercedes posted on social media, slugging in the face. So that match is happening next week. Awesome build. I'm so glad we have a story there. Now, Fletcher fought Anthony Bowens. This was set up last week for the thinnest of reasons. Bowens hit a twisting DDT off the ropes. Fletcher delivered a Liger bomb away from the hard cam. Bowens got a couple more shots in before Fletcher landed his brainbuster, got the win. Lance Archer attacking Billy Gunn ringside. That factored into the distraction finish here. This was the opening match of Collision, and it was blatantly obvious that the momentum of the show dropped immediately as soon as that switched. There was a CMLL executive cutting a promo in the ring. He took what felt like 5 whole minutes to welcome Atlantis, who came in with his son Atlantis Jr. FTR came out because the guy said living legend, which is their whole gimmick. Stokely Hathaway cut a rambling promo where he tried a bunch of references, saying FTR needs to add another accolade to their resume by competing and winning at Arena Mexico. Dax Harwood started ranting, doing the same shit he did last week. That led to a brawl that involved Adam Cole, the Callis family, Brody King, other luchadors, Atlantis, who is 62, by the way, and Dax brawled into the crowd. Tony Schiavone was screaming like his balls hadn't dropped yet during this segment. Bunch of chaos to set up a multi-man match. I don't really have much more to say. I'm largely a fan of Stoke, but this alignment with FTR, it's just not really working for me. It feels forced, completely unnecessary. We had Paragon and Daniel Garcia against Don Callis family. This main evented, and there was again an overrun for a 4-hour show. There was a 4-way submission spot with Shivani screaming constantly, again giving me a headache after 4 hours of this. Lance Archer choked out Kyle O'Reilly in the corner as Josh Alexander hit Roderick Strong with a German suplex to win. A 12-man tag team match involving these guys and some of those in the brawl prior. That was then announced for next week. I guess that's attractive for some. It's not attractive to me. Ricochet backstage was still looking for a crew. When Blake Christian and Lee Johnson erupted, basically pitching themselves, he said they suck. They're playing make-believe Ricochet, and they're missing something. I mean, look, the truth is the truth. They do suck. Neither of them has ever won anything, especially recently. Christian is a jobber of all jobbers in AEW right now, so nothing Ricochet said was wrong. Mark Briscoe, Tomohiro Ishii, and Willow Nightingale beat MXM Collection and Taya Valkyrie. Chris Statlander watched again backstage. Willow and Ishii did a double superplex on Mason Madden with Briscoe landing Froggy Bow. Nightingale then won with Dr. Bomb on Valkyrie. Random as hell. Kind of a fun house show type match, though. Briscoe and Willow, they are great baby faces. Then we saw a backstage promo from Stat last week saying she's done with Willow, and there's no one like her on the roster, so that should be enough. Wheeler Yuta came up to give her advice, telling her to make her own choices. Then Marina Shafir stared her down and stared him down as well. May have been the most personality Yuta's ever shown. So fair play to him. Bandito fought the Beast Mortos, easily the best match on Collision. Bandito did the Spanish-style World's Strongest Slam, just like we saw in Worlds Collide, for the win in 12 minutes. They kept referring to it as a standby match to explain why there was no reason for it happening. It was neither a title match nor an eliminator match. Oh, you forgot Bandito was Ring of Honor champion? Yeah, he is. And this was neither of those. Tay fought Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. Bayne got taken down with a cannonball and crossbody ringside before they waited what felt like a full minute for Ford to moonsault them. Megan immediately popped up for Samoan drop follow-away slam combo, the best spot of the match by a mile. Penelope begged for a tag. That allowed Mello to hit GTS around the back as Jay held Bayne over the ropes. If the goal is to split Bayne and Ford, the finish made sense. But it was clunky as hell by the time it ended. Some decent spots in between. Thekla fought Queen Aminata. The notable spot in this match was Aminata basically doing a devil's kiss like Stephanie Vaquer's move, but with her ankles. So she shoved Thekla's face into her asshole repeatedly, and Thekla slapped her cheeks with both hands as this was happening. Leave it to AEW to do something like this, taking an over spot and making it more graphic with the women. Aminata then basically did a coup de grace, but she didn't seem to land safely. She stomped the hell out of Thekla. The heel then won with a spear and death trap. Good in parts, rough in others. Thekla continues to be a real impressive addition, but she needs to wrestle like better, more experienced competition. I'd like to see her with Valkyrie or Diana Peraza or someone like that. She also missed the hard cam multiple times during this match. There was another notable moment here, and that as soon as the bell rang, Aminata just completely stopped selling. She immediately rolled out of the ring, just walked to the back. It was super noticeable. Not sure whether there's anything to it, but again, it was noticeable. Big Bill and Brian Keith were backstage saying they wanted more competition. So JD Drake and Anthony Henry stepped up to them, saying, we may not have wrestled in AEW this past year, but we're game to fight you. So Learning Tree is going from Gates of Agony, a low card but semi-regular feature team, to the effing Workhorsemen, who aren't even on TV and said as much in the segment. What the hell is AEW doing with the Learning Tree? What the hell is AEW doing with the tag team division, where this is even a match you're putting on your show? This is the rarest of occasions where I'm actually angry that AEW set something up. This should be a random squash leading to an actual feud. This isn't even something that should have aired on Rampage, let alone Collision.
That is one big pile of shit.
And lastly, Kip Sabian backstage told Nick Wayne that Christian Cage was giving him space and putting in hard work with his mom. Holy shit, he spoke. Then he aired a Best of Super Juniors highlight package and said he wasn't sure where Wayne would be without Christian, which he, of course, took offense to. Okay, just split them up. Just get this over with. I'm done. I don't need this week-to-week drip of it. I'm really done with Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne and Christian and the mom. It's enough. Let's all move on. Put Christian and Adam Copeland together. Let them do a tag team feud. Let them win the championships. I'm done, please. And that wraps up AEW this week. I'm sorry to end on such a sour note, but it's just enough with those guys. Really solid 2 hours of Dynamite. I'm glad they spent so much time storytelling. Didn't really love the stories they were telling this week. Thought it was a far downgrade from last week. The Dynamite portion last week was better, apples to apples. The Collision portion this week was better, apples to apples. But still, it was a significant drop off from the first 2 hours to the second 2 hours. And again, because Dynamite is what really matters in AEW, I thought it was definitely a step down significantly from last week's show. So look, that wraps up this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. We covered NXT and AEW, and we will be back same bat time, same bat channel next week in the space doing the exact same thing. Between now and then, we'll be with you on Tuesday talking all things WWE. And if for some reason you missed our WWE episode from Tuesday, our 750th edition of the show, make sure you listen to that. And really, if for some reason you missed our Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide double instant analysis episode, that is waiting in the feed for you as well. As I mentioned, we have a big news update coming this week on buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. So don't forget.
I happen to love the number 5.
It's $5 a month or $50 for the entire year. If you sign up there, I'll mention it once more. buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. You get extra audio, you get news analysis every week, and you financially support the continuation of this show. We would greatly appreciate that. Also, please remember,
It's all about the 5.
so head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast and follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all that good stuff. And you can send in questions and comments for the show. Again, Blue Sky, at Getting Over, Twitter, at Getting Overcast. Thank you all so much for listening to this edition of Getting Over. This is the Silver King signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.